So it's Sunday, and Sherry's going to help me do my Sunday sermon. So we're heading towards a thing out in West Phoenix, and so we got about 20-30 minutes to drive. But Sherry and I were talking about how Jesus. So I don't even like to say his name because people have so many weird things about when people start talking about Jesus. So the thing is that if you go through the story, and let's use the Catholic narrative that Jesus sacrificed himself for the sins. I don't know how that system works, but whatever. He sacrificed himself for the sins of the world. If you read what Jesus wrote, Jesus was like really frustrated with people because they were dumb and they wouldn't listen. And even his own apostles wouldn't listen, right? You will deny me 3 times before the cock crows, right? Same shit. People wouldn't fucking listen. And that's what's funny is that even to this day, the stuff that Jesus talked about, loving one another, is revolutionary today. Love thy enemy. That was a trick, by the way. If you love your enemy, guess what? You have no more enemies. So, but I think it's crazy that let's go through again with the Catholic narrative that he sacrificed himself, that he was willing, that he was God's son. Right? Only begotten. He sacrifices himself in a very gory, terrible, suffering way, and still nobody listens. 2,000 years later, nobody listens. It's insane, is what it really is. And the lessons to be learned are still around us today. How well do I treat other people? How well, and that's the dilemma every day, is that how effective is that? Am I being a doormat to someone? Am I being their enabler? Lately, we've been watching a great show on FX called Mr. In-Between. I highly recommend it. And sort of the theme about that show is how often and for what reason do you step up and defend yourself or defend other people that you love, and how do you do that, and how it's either acceptable or unacceptable in our present society. So all good stuff to explore and to think about. One of the things that came up today was peer pressure. So I'm going to go do something today that I don't agree with. However, I'm doing it anyway. And one of my issues that I've had was that I've dedicated my life to something much greater than myself, and that I want to achieve. And what's funny is that the people around me who love me still will not support me. They don't want to do the sacrifice themselves, right? Nobody wants to do the sacrifice. Nobody wants to be a martyr. I don't want to be a martyr. But nobody will sacrifice what it takes to achieve something greater than themselves. Typically, most people just set their expectations on themselves much lower. Like, if I can only go to the river this weekend and get drunk, if I can only go to Cabo for for spring break or whatever, get drunk. Guess what? You can get drunk at home if that's what you want to do. It's much cheaper. But that dream is super achievable, and millions of people, billions of people all over the world do that every week. So the problem with having that goal, though, is that it doesn't get you what you really want. And so that's where the sacrifice comes in. You have to be willing to do something other people don't want to do, in order to have things and do things that other people won't have. So there's an old saying about that, but anyways, the peer pressure that I'm feeling is that I work too much. And I was talking to Sherry earlier about that. You know, what's funny is everybody says that I'm a tough guy, a hard ass. And to me, I have not achieved even a fraction of what my father achieved at my age. At my age, he was taking us to Lake Powell every week, or Rocky Point, Mexico. And we were vacationing like quite a bit. So, but he had set himself up to make about $5,000 a month residual just on subletting spots at his property. He didn't even own the property. He was just renting. On top of that, he was able to get a $70 million loan for a huge chunk of Wilcox, Arizona, which is Greenlee County. And unfortunately, though, for everyone involved, he did not invest in a good team and good people. And for whatever reason, it fell through his fingers, and he ended up in jail, and it completely wrecked all of his life. I don't think the drinking helped either. So, but then his mom died, and he went in to manage my cousin's, I don't want to say inheritance, but his Social Security payout. My cousin's mom died, which was his little sister. It left my cousin about $100,000, and my dad managed that, and he lost that as well. So, not a great ending for such a high peak that he was able to achieve, but I don't want to repeat the same thing, so I don't emulate a lot of the stuff that he did. And so I encourage you, if nobody else around you is successful, I'm suggesting, right? I'm not saying those are bad people. I'm just saying that maybe you might not want to listen to them about money or success or what their ideas of discipline are. Because you have to look at what they've achieved. And if you go back to first principles about what Tesla and Elon Musk is talking about, when someone is successful, they can be successful in just about anything. It's really just a matter of, boning up on the information on the subject, right? I'm sure I would make a great biologist. I just need to learn the rules and the information that apply to those sorts of things. So, but one of the other issues that Sherry and I came up with was I asked her, what, not necessarily what are her heroes, but who are people that she wants to emulate? Who are the people in her life that, if somebody said, well, this is what I do in my daily routine, that you could apply to yourself. And Sherry didn't have any people that she admires like that. It was like, I go, well, who's in your Instagram feed? And she's like, craft ladies, ladies that do crafts, or they do, Dollar Tree hauls and things like that. Like, what kind of things do you surround yourself with? And what's funny is, even in my YouTube stream, when I go on my phone, oh my God, it's all about science and technology and learning how to be a better entrepreneur, how to be a better person, and learning all kinds of technical skills. Sherry's is not like that, and so that shows a huge divergence in our paths in where we're headed. The dilemma that I find is that this is my partner for life. This is my wife. And so how is this going to happen? Or how is this going to affect, downshift. How is this going to affect our future together? When she's focusing on one thing and I'm focusing on another. And typically how it's been handled in the past is that I just have to be an overachiever. I have to create a success so large that it supports both of us. And that's very difficult, and that's a lot of pressure on me. And I really think it's unnecessary. But there's sort of sour grapes at the end too, because it's like it's like the red hen, the story of the red hen. The red hen. For those that have never heard the story, there's a magical hen that can make bread, And she's going around asking her friends, her other farm animal friends, to help her make her bread. So she goes to the fox, and she says, hey, do you want to help me cut this wheat down so I can make some bread? Fox is like, no, I got some other shit I'm going to do. And then the hen goes to the goat. And the goat's like, she says, hey, goat, you want to help me mill this wheat into flour? And the goat's like, nah, I'm sucking on this girl's titties. It's fine. Well, udders. Sorry, Sherry shamed me right there for a second. But, so that goat's like, no. And so then the little red hen goes to, I don't know, the skunk, whatever, some other farm animal, the cow. Even the cows are fucking lazy and don't want to help her bake bread. I think it's mostly because the cows have hooves and they don't do well in the kitchen, but I'll leave that judgment for later. So anyways, the hen is able to achieve this magical feat and create loaves of bread. And then all of a sudden the farm animals come around and they're like, hey, we want some bread. And she's like, go fuck yourselves. I don't think that's in the children's book, but I'm just paraphrasing. She's like, go fuck yourselves. You had your chance. Beat it. You're not getting any bread. So, and the little red hen's little small group of friends that did help her, or her, whoever her family is or whatever, they're the ones that are able to reap these benefits because they put in the hard work and the time and the labor. So, and this story repeats itself over and over and over and over again. And it's not necessarily that you have to be dedicated to, being a baker to be successful. That's not the point. The point is about having a dream and having a vision, and then listening to the person that has that vision. If you don't have a vision, follow somebody that does until you find your own. That was one of the biggest issues in our marriage, especially in the beginning, was Sherry felt often that she didn't have a say in the big decisions in our life. Because to me, it was obvious. It was like, it's obvious that I need to do something more, or I need to do X, whatever it is, in order to achieve this next level. And she was like, well, why didn't you ask me? Why didn't you talk to me? And I'm like, you had your opportunity to do something and you didn't. In fact, all you did was criticize me or try to undermine me. And, then Sherry wants to argue that she didn't. And I say, well, did I ask you for this? And she's like, well, yeah. And I said, well, what was your better idea? And she goes, well, I didn't have one. I go, that's it. There's usually only a very small window of time in order to affect change. That's why it's called a crossroads. You have a choice, or was it a T of the road or whatever? You have a choice to go down one path or the other. Which one are you going to pick? Are you going to pick the easy road, and there's a whole other book written about this, the road less traveled? Are you going to pick the hard road? And is it worth it? And so that's where we come to, is that Sherry disagrees with my methods, but it's gotten us this far, and it's gotten us to where, not necessarily where I've been, but certainly in a better situation than other people. So again, back to first principles and Elon Musk and Tesla. You really need to sort of reinvent everything every day. Because if you just go along with the narrative that you've been told, this is especially like back to Jesus, about the Catholic narrative about the story of Christ. It gets real preachy. It gets real guilt-ridden. Like you should feel guilty for not taking advantage of the sacrifice that Christ made. That's not the point that Christ was making. The point that Christ was making was that he again, there's no writings by actual Christ. The only thing they talk about in the Bible is that he sometimes would draw in the dirt to sort of come up with a thought, and then he would brush it away. Again, he couldn't do anything. People that did believe he was the Son of God, if he left anything behind, they would worship the thing. That's why it's, for somebody in his situation, you don't want to leave anything behind. Even the Shroud of Turin, you don't want to leave that behind, because then people worship the shroud rather than the messages that he was trying to teach you. So again, go back and listen to what Jesus was getting frustrated with when he's out there feeding everybody, right? That's what he did first. He took care of their bellies first. He's like, oh, you niggers are hungry? All right, let's get some food in here. Let's eat some fish. Let's have some loaves. Let's have some wine. Let's relax so that you can listen to what I have to say. And then did people listen? No, they still didn't listen. So, think about what other people are not doing that you still feel in your heart that is the right thing to do. And that's really what peer pressure is about, is overcoming those fears of being rejected by those around you and still doing the right thing. That's the right thing for you. In the case of an abortion, that's up to you. There was another thing that I wanted to get into about politics. Somebody was asking, like, what are your politics? And I was like, politics are stupid. I really am a fan of looking at something like the make-believe society that's the Vulcans practice in Star Trek, the Star Trek narrative, and sort of going by logic. But even when you see some of the stories that you see through the Star Trek, legacy saga, the saga, even the Vulcans don't have it right. Like, they don't get everything right. But there has to be some sort of way to have society that what's the word? Makes it better for everyone. So, and really the only thing that you can control, right? And it's very hard to control government without tons and tons of money, and that's why the Illuminati controls that part. And when I say Illuminati, I'm just talking about really, really rich families that don't even measure their wealth in money anymore. They measure it in like humans or countries. But what you can control is making things, selling things, addressing parts of the market that are not being addressed. And again, if you go back and look at what Tesla's doing, Tesla is about to, they just did the trademark for, see, I don't know where they're going. Where are you going in such a hurry? There's just nothing but more traffic up ahead. Tesla is turning their charging stations into like truck stops, road stops, where you're going to hang out for 20-30 minutes to charge your car, and then while you're there, you're going to eat, you're going to shop, you're going to relax, and maybe even clean up. And what's great about that is it creates a more establishment and a network of restaurants and food and things that you can do better. Like, if they're just going to do the same thing, then they're just as good as any other shitty truck stop that you've been to. So, and that's what I really like about what Elon's doing with his team, is creating something different for the same price, maybe a little bit more, again, depending on if the market can bear it, but creating more value for your life in the long run, especially when it becomes a full-blown network. A lot of the problem solving that they've been doing ends up being revolutionary, just simply because you want to try to do one thing good. So, like, making electric cars is not enough, right? Because then it's just you and, and that's what Prius owners went through for years, right? They were the weird oddball that was, caring about the environment. What's funny is you don't have to care about the environment in order to own a Prius. You can just buy a Prius, especially a used one, by the way, and swap out that battery or fix that battery, and you got a really great car, a Toyota, for super cheap. But you can save gas, or just if you don't want to stop for gas so often, it's a great car for that matter. But just having an electric car is not enough. And so then it's like, well, then you have to become a battery company because nobody makes a battery good enough for you. And then, if you're just, there's that old meme that a lot of Republicans and roughnecks, people in the oil industry make fun of, which was that it's a Tesla charging station that was run by a diesel generator. And of course that's horrible, but this is the very beginning of the change, the conversion over to all electric networks. We are going to use 100 times more electricity than we are now. And so it's important to think about that now and position yourself. Where do you want to be in 10 years? Where do you want to be in 20 years? As far as where the evolution of what we're going to change to comes into effect. And so If you want to be rich, if you want to be wealthy, if you want to have your family taken care of, what are you doing today in order to affect that kind of change tomorrow? So back to what I was talking about with Tesla. Again, the future of this company and this group of companies, whether it's the Boring Company, whether it's Starlink, whether it's SpaceX, this is the future. Tesla alone can envelop Apple and Google. The things that they're doing, the markets that they are going after, are trillions of dollars. And I don't mean just sitting on the stock and hoping for a good day. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, do you want to go work for them? Because they're always looking for hardworking, honest, quality people. And that's what I'm going to be doing with my life. Is I want to create a better future for myself and for other people. And that's why I want to move to Texas, and that's why I want to help SpaceX. That's why I want to help Tesla. And in the meantime, I'll still be able to help you guys and do a lot of other stuff. So I think we're coming up on the exit, so I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this Sunday sermon. I hope you can smell the brimstone and feel the fire. I love you. Take care of yourself. Take care of those around you, and do something different. Because if you just do the same things, then you're no better than the people that came before you. So I love you. I'll talk to you later.